Hello everyone, today we will discuss biotic factors. Biotic factors in ecosystem. In ecosystem contain a structural and functional components. Ecosystem contain structural and functional components. An ecosystem contain structural and functional components. The structural components are the abiotic and biotic factors. Structural and functional components. The structural components are the structural components are abiotic and biotic factors. Abiotic and biotic factors. The structural components are the abiotic factors and biotic factors. First one, abiotic factors. So the abiotic factors are the light, temperature, water, soil, pressure, etc. So the abiotic factors are the light, one of the abiotic factors, temperature, abiotic factor, water, abiotic factor, soil, abiotic factor, pressure, abiotic factors. Next one, biotic factors. The biotic factors are the producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers, consumers and decomposers. So they are the structural components. Next one, functional components. Functional components means cycling of nutrients and transfer of energy So they are the functional components. So the recycling of the nutrients type and transferring of the energy. So these type of the organisms are called as functional components. Once revised. So the ecosystem contain structural and functional components. Ecosystem contain a structural components and functional components. First one, structural components. The structural components are the abiotic factors and biotic factors. First one, abiotic factors. Abiotic factors are the light, temperature, pressure, water, soil. So they are the abiotic factors. Next one, biotic factors. Biotic factors means living things, living organisms like producers, consumers, herbivores. Next one, functional components. The functional components means, so these type of the organisms, they are recycling of the nutrients. Recycling of nutrition type is called as functional components. They transfer from the energy from the one trophic level to another trophic level. So they are called as functional components. Next, first heading, producers. First one, producers. First one, producers. In ecosystem, the green plants are called as producers. In the ecosystem, the green plants in the ecosystem is called as producers. Green plants in the ecosystem is called producers. Green plants in the ecosystem is called as producers. Green plants in the ecosystem is called as producers. The producers is also called as autotrophs. Producers is also called as autotrophs. Producers is called as autotrophs. The producers is called as autotrophs. Autotroph means, so they are preparing the own food materials. Autotroph means these prepare own food materials. Preparing the own food materials through the solar energy. Solar energy. So the photosynthesis process. Through the photosynthesis process. So the green plants in the ecosystem is called as producers. So these producers is called as autotrophs. The producers is called as autotrophs. Because of autotrophs means these are preparing the own food materials. From the help of the sunlight, solar energy. Through the solar energy process, photosynthesis process, they are preparing the own food materials. So they are called as autotrophs. Next one, some certain bacteria such as iron and sulfur. Such bacteria like iron bacteria or sulfur bacteria. Iron bacteria or sulfur bacteria is called as chemoautotrophs. Chemoautotrophs. So the chemoautotrophs means chemical autotrophs. This is like utilization of the carbon as they are the destruction of the carbon dioxide, the formation of the energy. So they are called as chemoautotrophs. Like such bacteria, iron bacteria or sulfur bacteria. So this bacteria is called as chemoautotrophs. Next one, in a terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. First one, in a terrestrial ecosystem. So the green plants are the producers. In a terrestrial ecosystem, green plants are wood plants. Green plants are wood plants. Is called producers. In terrestrial ecosystem, the terrestrial ecosystem means land ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem means water ecosystem. In the terrestrial ecosystem, green plants or wood plants is called as producers. In aquatic ecosystem, So the microorganisms are phytoplanktons or zooplanktons. In aquatic ecosystem, microscopic phytoplanktons are algae. Algae are the producers. Algae are the producers. Microorganisms, microscopic phytoplanktons are algae. Microalgae are some higher plants producers, higher plants and higher plants. So they are the producers of the ecosystem. Higher plants are the producers of the ecosystem. Next one, the most of the food chains, in the first trophic level, most of the food chain, first trophic level, they presenting on the producers. The most of the food chain, like grazing food chain, parasitic food chain, detritus food chain. So they are the first trophic level. First trophic level contain a producers. After herbivores, next carnivores, primary carnivores, secondary carnivores, tertiary carnivores. So they are the producers. Next, second one, consumers. After producers, next one, consumers. Next one, consumers. Consumers means all the animals. Consumers means all the animals, depend directly or indirectly, all the animals depend on plants, means producers, is called as consumers. All the animals depend on direct or indirect, depend on the producers or plants. So they are called as consumers. These are called as consumers. So the consumers is also called as heterotrophs. Consumers are also called as heterotrophs. Consumers are also called as heterotrophs. Consumers are called as heterotrophs. Heterotrophs means, so they are depending the another organisms, so they are called as heterotrophs. Autotrophs means they are preparing the own food material, so they are called as autotrophs. So heterotrophs means depending on the another organisms, so they are called as heterotrophs. Next one, the consumers are the three types. Primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. First one, primary consumers. Second one, secondary consumers. Third one, tertiary consumers. Primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. The primary consumers means, so these are the herbivores. Primary consumers means herbivores. So these herbivores eating the plants. The herbivores eating the plants. So they are called as herbivores or primary carnivores. For example, so they are the plant. These plant, so they are the insect. So they are eating this plant. Insect eating the plant. So they are called as primary consumer. Is called as primary consumer or herbivore. So the primary consumers, insects, birds, herbivores like insects, birds and certain mammals. Insects, birds and certain mammals are the primary consumers. Next one, secondary consumers. Secondary consumers means these secondary consumers, one animal eating the another animal. Like, so they are eating from the insects. So the frog eating the insect. So the frog is primary, insect is primary carnivore. So the frog is secondary carnivore. For example, so they are the insect. So these insect, they are the frog. So these frog eating the insect. So the insect is called as primary consumer. The frog is called as secondary consumer. Primary consumer, secondary consumer. These primary consumer eating the plant. So they are the eating the plant. So they are the primary consumer. So these primary consumer, they are the frog eating the secondary consumer. Next one, the tertiary consumer. Tertiary consumer means the frog. Next one, snake. This snake, they eating the frog. So they are called as tertiary consumer. Primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. Primary consumer means herbivores. They are eating only plants like insects, some birds and some mammals. Next one, the next animals eating the herbivores. So they are called as secondary consumers. The secondary consumers, they are eaten by the tertiary consumers. So they are the consumers. Next, third one, detritus. Third one, detritus. Third one, detritus. Decomposer. Third one, decomposers. So the decomposers means, so they are the decomposing the dead organisms. Like plant leaves, plant flowers, plant woods. Next one, dead animals and fecal matter. Just plant leaves, plant flowers, plant bark and plant dead organisms. They are the decomposing. And dead animals and animal fecal matter. So these are the decomposing. They are the large particles is converting to the small particles. So they are the converting the large inorganic particles are converting to the small inorganic particles. So they are called as decomposers. Like earthworm, bacteria. So the earthworm, so they are the friends of the farmer. Earthworm is called as friends of the farmer because of, so they are the dead plant materials is converting to the fertilizers. The dead plant materials is converting to the fertilizers. They are using the plants are the growing. So they are the earthworm is called as friends of farmer because of, so this energy transfer from the dead particles to next level. So they are called as decomposers. Decomposers means they are converting to the large particles to the small particles. Inorganic components they are converting to the components, the micro components. So they are called as decomposers. Example, bacteria, earthworms are the decomposers. So these are the decomposers are the very useful because of, so they are transfer the energy. First one, energy transfer from the sunlight to plants. First one, plants are the producers to herbivores, herbivores to carnivores, carnivores. For example, this energy transfer from the producers to herbivores, herbivores to carnivores. The carnivores, their energy transfer, the carnivores is dying, these carnivores energy reaching to the soil. Next one, soil to plants, plant to herbivore, herbivore to carnivore. After carnivore is dying, the dead animals, the dissolving the soil, the energy is dissolving the soil. Next, soil to plants. So they are the decomposers, are the nutritions, energy transfer from the one generation to another generations. So they are the biotic components, producers, consumers and decomposers. Next class we will discuss food chain.